Lena Carter thought the past had been buried with her father's death, but when a mysterious key arrives with no sender, she realizes the real story is only beginning. Every shadow whispers secrets, every face hides betrayal, and the one man she dares to love may be the one who destroys her. As lies unravel and danger closes in, Lena must uncover the truth before it consumes her, and before she loses everything she has left. I remember staring at the screen as though the world had paused in that moment. My sister's post sat there glowing on my phone, her smile wide, her hand clutching keys like she had just won the lottery. And in a way she had. She had won my lottery. I did not comment, did not call, did not even blink. I just kept reading the caption over and over until the words blurred and began to lose shape. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for giving me my first house. My first thought was not disbelief. It was recognition. They had finally crossed the line I had been pretending did not exist for years. 3 years. That was how long I had covered their rent when Dad could not work and Mom was between jobs. 3 years of telling them it was fine, I had got it even when my own account was scraping bottom. 3 years of holding my breath while bills piled up, waiting for relief that never came. When I finally saved enough for a down payment, it was not for me. It was for them. A little stability. A roof over their heads they would not have to worry about losing. The closing day was quiet. No fanfare, no champagne. Just paperwork, a pen that nearly slipped in my trembling hand, and signatures that felt like the end of a war I had been fighting alone. I placed the deed into their hands, and for the first time in years, I saw relief etched into their faces. Mom hugged me tightly and whispered, "We will never forget this." Dad's voice cracked when he said, "We are so proud of you." I believed them. Now I know pride can be faked. Gratitude too. Because 1 week later my sister Allison, the golden one, the child who could never fall far enough to lose their love, posted that photo. The one that told me the house I bought was not mine anymore. It was hers. I did not ask questions. Questions give people time to build lies. Instead I began collecting facts. County property records were public. 10 minutes was all it took to confirm the deed had been transferred. No sale. No mortgage. Just a gift from my parents to her. I called my bank and checked every payment I had made. Every cent was mine. Every document bore my name until it did not. For a week I sat in silence. Not angry. Not crying. Just quiet. Because I knew something they did not. In their rush to give her my gift, they had made one mistake. Fatal one. I did not just buy the house. I paid the taxes up front. And I never took my name off the insurance. Technically, my name was still on the title history as grantor, and the insurance still listed me as the sole point of contact, which meant the house was not untouchable. The plan came together in layers. First, I paid a visit to the insurance company. I told them I wanted to update my coverage. Better protection, higher premiums. They were happy to oblige. Then I quietly switched the mailing address for all policy documents to my apartment. Second, I filed a formal complaint with the county assessor's office, questioning the legality of the gift transfer. The process would be slow, but that suited me. Slow meant my parents and Allison would not suspect anything until it hit. The final piece was delicate. Allison had no idea how to handle home ownership. The lawn grew wild. Trash cans lingered on the curb for days. So I called the HOA anonymously. Every violation stacked fines on the property. Fines Allison thought were Mom and Dad's problem. Fines they thought were hers. In reality they were mine. By the end of month 3, the house was bleeding money. The HOA was threatening legal action. The insurance premiums had tripled because of the risk factors I had carefully created. And the county had frozen the title transfer pending review of my complaint. That was when I called a meeting. Living room. Sunday afternoon. They were all there. Mom, Dad, and Allison perched on the couch like a queen. The tension in the air was so heavy it nearly suffocated me. I slid a manila envelope across the coffee table. Inside were copies of every document, every payment I had made, every fine they had racked up, and a formal letter from my lawyer. "You have 2 choices," I said, calm as a surgeon. 1. Sign the house back to me today. 2. I let the county void the transfer, foreclose on the unpaid fines, and take the house entirely. Allison laughed first. You would not. Cut her off. I would. And I would still sleep fine. Dad tried to reason, but his voice wavered. Mom began to cry. I just sat there, watching them realize they had underestimated me. It took 20 minutes for them to fold. Signatures on the papers. Title back in my name. I did not gloat. I did not yell. But when Allison stormed out, slamming the door so hard the glass rattled, I let myself smile. The next day I sold the house. Cash offer. Closed in 2 weeks. I did not tell them until the moving trucks pulled up. Mom called, begging to stay just a little longer. Dad tried guilt, reminding me of everything they had done for me. I let their words wash over me like static. They had taught me something valuable. Love without respect is not love at all. And trust once broken never repairs. When I walked away from that house for the last time, I felt lighter. Not because I had won, but because I had stopped playing their game. They lost the roof I gave them. I gained the freedom they had been costing me for years. And that to me was worth more than any property. But it was not the end. The house was gone, yet the betrayal lived in my chest like a shadow. At night when I closed my eyes, I saw Allison's smug smile clutching those keys. I heard Mom's voice whispering gratitude that had never been real. I tried to move on. I buried myself in work at the design firm where I had been climbing the ladder. I picked up every new project, stayed late, and made myself indispensable. I thought if I kept moving I would not feel the emptiness. That was when Ethan appeared. He was a contractor my firm hired for a large renovation project. Tall, calm, eyes sharp but kind. He had a way of listening that made you feel like the only person in the room. At first I told myself it was casual. Dinner here, coffee there. But soon he became a constant. Late-night texts. Surprise visits with takeout when I was too exhausted to cook. A steady warmth in a life that had been defined by betrayal. With Ethan I began to feel that maybe love could be real. Maybe trust was not always a trap. Until Allison returned. She called me one night. Her voice was sharp, trembling with rage. You think you won, she spat. You think selling that house made you better than me. I said nothing. Enjoy it while you can, Lena. People like you always end up alone. Then she hung up. I told myself to brush it off. But her words clung to me like smoke. And then it began. Anonymous letters slipped under my door. Traitor. Eve. You will pay. My car keyed in the middle of the night. Emails from unknown addresses. Filled with venom about loyalty and betrayal. Ethan urged me to go to the police. I refused. I told myself I had endured worse. But deep down I knew this was different. This was not just spite. This was an obsession. One night as I left work, I noticed someone following me. A shadow just far enough back to keep me from seeing their face. My heart pounded as I ducked into a cafe and waited. They did not follow me inside. But when I stepped back out, they were gone. I told myself it was paranoia. But the next evening, I came home to find my apartment door slightly ajar. Nothing was missing. But someone had been inside. Someone had touched my world. Ethan refused to leave me alone after that. He stayed, his presence anchoring me. But I saw the worry in his eyes. One night he took my hand and said, Lena, whatever this is, it is not about the house anymore. You need to face it. He was right. The breaking point came in the form of a package. No return address. Inside was a photograph. Me and Ethan at the cafe laughing. Someone had been close enough to capture it. On the back, in messy handwriting, were 4 words. You cannot escape family. The cold spread through me like ice water. 'Cause it was true. No matter what I sold, no matter who I loved, family had a way of clawing its way back. That night, I decided it was time to confront Allison. We met at the old pier where we used to play as children. The air was heavy with salt and rust. She stood at the edge, arms crossed, eyes sharp with rage and something else. Desperation. You ruined everything, she snapped. Mom and Dad trusted you, and you threw it back in their faces. I laughed bitterly. Trusted me. Allison, I paid for that house. I gave them everything. They gave it to you like I was nothing. You are not the victim here. She stepped closer, her face twisted. You always thought you were better. The savior. But you could never buy what I had. Their love. Their pride. That was mine. My voice cracked as I whispered. So you destroyed me. For a fleeting moment, I saw guilt in her eyes. Then it vanished. You will never be free of me, she said coldly. No matter what you sell. No matter who you love. I am part of you, Lena. You cannot cut me out. She turned and walked into the night. I trembled in the silence she left behind, realizing she was right about one thing. Family cannot be erased. But it can survive. I returned to Ethan's that night and broke down completely. I told him everything. Every sacrifice. Every betrayal. Every scar. He held me through it all. When the words finally stopped spilling, he whispered, "You are not defined by them. You are defined by what you choose now." That moment I chose freedom. I closed every lingering tie. I cut off contact, changed my number, and moved into a new apartment far from the ghosts of my family. Finished the sale. I built walls, not of anger but of boundaries. Strong. Unshakable. Weeks later, Ethan and I walked through the spring market hand in hand. The sunlight warmed my face. For the first time in years, I felt air in my lungs without the weight of chains. My phone buzzed. Just a message from a client. Nothing sinister. I smiled and put it away. Life had not ended with betrayal. It had begun anew. But sometimes when the night is quiet, I still hear Allison's voice. You will never be free of me. Maybe she is right. Maybe scars never fade. But scars are not chains. They are proof of survival. Proof that even in the darkest nights, I did not break. I will carry those scars. But I will no longer carry their weight. Love without respect is not love. Trust once broken never repairs. But strength once found never fades. And that strength is mine now. Untouchable. Unbreakable.